What really happened the moment the lights went out, the bass dropped, and the entire stadium in Tampa seemed to lose control at once? Was it just another concert opening, or was it the beginning of something far more explosive than anyone had anticipated? Before you dive deeper, ask yourself this: are you ready to witness a moment that fans are already calling one of the most electrifying openings in modern music history? If you crave moments like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because what unfolded that night is something you'll want to talk about long after the final beat faded. The night in Tampa started like any other highly anticipated show, but there was a tension in the air that felt different, heavier, almost electric. Fans packed the stadium hours in advance, their voices echoing through the massive venue, chanting the name of Suga with a kind of intensity that hinted something unforgettable was about to happen. There were whispers among the crowd, subtle hints circulating online, and an unspoken agreement that this wasn't going to be just another performance. It was going to be a statement. As the lights dimmed, a sudden silence swept across the stadium like a wave pulling back before a storm. For a brief second, everything felt suspended in time. Then, without warning, a deep, thunderous bassline erupted through the speakers, shaking the very ground beneath thousands of feet. The reaction was instantaneous. Screams pierced the air, lights flickered wildly, and the massive screens ignited with visuals so intense they felt almost cinematic. In that exact moment, Tampa wasn't just hosting a concert, it was witnessing a phenomenon. When Suga finally appeared on stage, emerging from the darkness with a presence that felt both commanding and mysterious, the crowd lost all sense of restraint. The energy exploded into something almost uncontrollable. It wasn't just cheering, it was a collective eruption, a shared emotional release that seemed to ripple through every corner of the stadium. Fans later described it as a moment where reality blurred, where sound, light, and emotion collided into something indescribable. What made this opening so powerful wasn't just the volume or the spectacle, it was the precision. Every beat, every flash of light, every movement was orchestrated to perfection. Suga didn't just step onto the stage, he owned it from the very first second. His presence was magnetic, pulling the audience deeper into the performance with every note. There was no warm-up, no gradual build. It was intensity from the very start, a bold declaration that this night would not be forgotten. The visuals played a crucial role in amplifying the experience. Massive LED screens displayed a fusion of abstract imagery and symbolic elements that seemed to reflect Suga's artistic identity. Dark tones clashed with bursts of color, creating a visual tension that mirrored the sound. It wasn't just a backdrop, it was part of the storytelling, drawing fans into a narrative that felt both personal and universal. As the opening track reached its peak, something incredible happened. The stadium didn't just react, it moved. The synchronized jumping, the waves of light from thousands of phones, the collective chanting, it created the illusion that the entire structure was alive, breathing, and pulsing in rhythm with the music. Social media quickly erupted with clips and reactions, many claiming they had never seen anything like it before. Some even described the moment as earth-shaking, not just metaphorically, but physically. But what truly set this opening apart was the emotional undercurrent that ran beneath the explosive surface. Suga's performance wasn't just about hype, it carried a depth that resonated with fans on a personal level. His lyrics, delivery, and stage presence conveyed a story of struggle, growth, and self-expression. It was raw, it was honest, and it was powerful. In the middle of all the chaos and excitement, there was a connection being formed, one that went beyond the music. The crowd's reaction wasn't just admiration, it was understanding. Fans weren't just watching, they were feeling every moment, every word, every beat. This connection is something that BTS has always been known for, but in this solo moment, Suga managed to elevate it to an entirely new level. It was intimate yet massive, personal yet shared among tens of thousands. As the opening sequence transitioned into the next phase of the performance, the energy didn't drop, it evolved. The initial shock gave way to a sustained intensity, a kind of controlled chaos that kept the audience on edge. Every transition was seamless, every moment carefully crafted to maintain momentum. There was no room to breathe, no chance to look away. It was a continuous wave of stimulation that demanded full attention. Fans later took to various platforms to express their disbelief. Many admitted they had expected something big, but nothing could have prepared them for the sheer scale and impact of what they experienced. Words like insane, unreal, and legendary were thrown around, but even those seemed insufficient. Because what happened in Tampa wasn't just a great opening, it was a redefining moment. What's even more intriguing is the question that lingers after the lights come back on and the echoes fade away. How does an artist top something like this? How do you follow an opening that already feels like a climax? This is the challenge Suga has set for himself, and if this performance is any indication, he's more than capable of surpassing expectations once again. The Tampa opening will likely be remembered not just as a highlight of a tour, but as a milestone in live performance history. It demonstrated the power of music to unite, to excite, and to transform a space into something almost otherworldly. It showed that even in an era saturated with content, there are still moments that can genuinely surprise us, moments that remind us why we fall in love with music in the first place. And now, the question turns to you. If you had been there, standing among thousands as the stadium shook and the night exploded into life, what would you have felt? Would you have screamed, cried, or simply stood there in awe, trying to take it all in? Share your thoughts, your reactions, and your excitement, because moments like this are meant to be experienced together, even beyond the stadium walls. And just when it seemed impossible for the intensity to climb any higher, the atmosphere inside the stadium shifted again, this time into something even more immersive, almost overwhelming in its scale. The echoes of the opening still lingered in the air, but instead of fading, they seemed to transform into a new wave of anticipation. It was as if the crowd collectively realized they had only witnessed the beginning of something much larger, something that was still unfolding in real time. The sound design deepened, layering heavy beats with haunting melodies that reverberated through the venue like a heartbeat. The lighting followed suit, transitioning from explosive flashes into more controlled, deliberate patterns that created a sense of tension rather than release. And at the center of it all stood Suga, not just performing, but commanding the narrative with an intensity that felt almost cinematic. There was a moment, brief but unforgettable, when the music dropped out completely. No instruments, no backing track, just silence. In that silence, thousands of voices surged forward, chanting in perfect unison. It wasn't rehearsed, it wasn't prompted, it was instinctive. The connection between artist and audience had reached a point where words were no longer necessary. That single moment of silence spoke louder than any sound that had come before it. Then came the drop. It hit harder than anything earlier in the night, a seismic wave of sound that sent shockwaves through the crowd. The stadium erupted again, but this time the reaction felt different, more unified, more intense, almost primal. Fans jumped, screamed, and moved as one, creating a visual and emotional spectacle that extended far beyond the stage. It wasn't just a performance anymore, it was an experience, something shared and felt collectively in a way that's increasingly rare. As the set progressed, Suga began to reveal more layers of his artistry. The transitions between songs weren't just technical, they were narrative. Each shift in tone, each change in tempo, seemed to tell a story, pulling the audience deeper into his world. There were moments of aggression, where the energy surged into something fierce and unrelenting, followed by moments of introspection that brought a surprising sense of calm amid the chaos. What made it even more compelling was the authenticity behind it all. Nothing felt forced or overly polished. There was a rawness to the performance, a sense that what was happening on stage was genuine and unfiltered. It's this authenticity that has always set BTS apart, and in this solo spotlight, it became even more pronounced.